Welcome into Nebraska Shootaround, and Bellinghausen and Drake Keeler. Thanks for spending some time with us talking about Nebraska women's basketball. Penn State lost, however, on the road for the Huskers, 82-73, the final score against a good Penn State team on the road, so you got to factor both those things in. But what'd you take away most, Drake?
Yeah, I like you said, it's a good Penn State team. I think with Ashley Wusu in the lineup, I think, honestly, I said this after the game, I think they're probably maybe the fourth best team in the Big Ten behind those three ranked teams, Iowa, Ohio State, and Indiana. We'll see how things shake out as the season progresses, of course, but, you know, road games are still hard to win in the Big Ten, but I mostly felt like they missed an opportunity for a big win. They started up 7-0, didn't really build on that, and it was just they had some really ugly first through third quarter was pretty ugly and not really what you wanted to see. Still fought back, kind of made it a game at the end, but it's one you can be fine with, but definitely some disappointment there.
How would you rate the defense right now for Nebraska?
It's good. It's good enough. I think they rank pretty well within the conference. I don't have that number on hand, but they've done pretty well. I don't think they can kind of like we saw against Indiana, against Penn State to some extent. I mean, yeah, Penn State scored 82. You know, I don't think they're gonna really slow down. You know, those top teams in the conference, but they destroyed Michigan and Illinois and Wisconsin on that end, and you really like what you saw there. So they're good, and you kind of want to see they played really well defensively for that first quarter, and Jazz Shelley did a great job on Ashley Wusu and McKenna Marisa for some possessions. But then they broke three, and I don't think this was as good as a defensive game as they could have had. But it's going to be good enough to stay in the, I guess, top half of the conference for sure.
Alexis Markowski continues her impressive campaign this season. She was 5 for 13, finished with 16 points, and then had an assist and 19 rebounds. So pretty good numbers there for Alexis Markowski, of course, with the loss still. But you can take away that Alexis Markowski is becoming more of a national player to watch. I even heard her name being tossed around on the Big Ten Network.
Yeah, it's been great to see, just upping that consistency. I mean, last year, we've known how good she is. She was a Lisa Leslie Award top 10 finisher, second team All Big Ten. But it feels like, even with that, she's taken a pretty big leap this season just as a scorer. She's way more consistent, and it's always going to be there in one way or another, and it's really exciting for Nebraska when you look at moving forward, and it's been a reason why they've been able to win some of the close games they've had.
Yeah, speaking of moving forward, got a tough test upcoming against Iowa, who's probably a little motivated by a loss against Ohio State and the court storming, all of that stuff happening. Caitlin Clark's been, amazing this year, but particularly against Nebraska has had great games. What needs to happen in that game? Maybe not for Nebraska to win, but to stay with Iowa as long as they can.
Yeah, I mean, you want to see the defense show up as much as they can. Obviously, Caitlin Clark is going to get her numbers. She scored 30 every time against Nebraska. I don't really expect that to change. I mean, she'll get at least close. Obviously, a great passer as well. But you're gonna need to see the offense, I guess, wake up a little bit, play more consistent. It's hard to keep up with. Ohio State had to score 100, to win that game. Obviously, it went to overtime, but still, they are really good, especially on the road in what will be a great environment. So you'd like to see the offense step up a little, and they've stayed generally, with them a few times in the last few years. Obviously, haven't beat them with Caitlin Clark, but that's a game you could see them staying close if things go right.
And the team's beatable because of Ohio State too, so maybe Iowa's in a little bit more vulnerable of a spot. Not like they're going to go out and lose a bunch of games, but still, you can beat them in the Big Ten at least.
Yeah, it's not Michigan State. I mean, Caitlin Clark needed to hit that buzzer beater we've all seen plenty of times to win that one. A lot of teams in the Big Ten can stay with Iowa on the right night. So I'm really looking forward to that, seeing how they fare.
I think Alexis Markowski will have to be a big component in that game. what do you want to see from her in just the consistency that she needs to have throughout the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, you want to see her keep it up in that game. Iowa, they don't have Monica Sonano anymore. She was a great player. Hannah Stolke, really good. Not at that level, but Iowa just, I mean, Jan Jensen, their assistant coach, works with the post, just produces just really good post players regardless. You know, they've got like 4 players that are just like really solid. And so that's going to be a challenge for Alexis Markowski and Jessica Petrie and Annika Stewart and Natalie Potts as well. So I'm really interested to see how they take on that challenge, if they can kind of work into an advantage there. So it's going to be a tough test. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit of bracketology as well. Nebraska right now projected as a number 8 seed. Pretty exciting stuff in top 30 in the net rankings. What do you take away from that at this point of the season?
Yeah, obviously the net ranking is really good. You want to be in that top 30 range. 8 seed in the they're not projected on like the bubble right now. I think they might enact. Charlie Cream does it for ESPN. I feel like he might be a tiny bit higher than what I might think. Obviously, I haven't put together a full bracket, but they might be a little closer to like that bubble area. But obviously, if you can get a road win in Iowa, that would really help things. But, regardless of that, you want to kind of see them continue to do what they've done, which is take care of business against, the teams near the bottom of the conference. And then in that great middle area where you got the Michigan States, the Penn States, the Minnesotas, you want to win some of those games. And they've done that. They've had the win over Michigan and Maryland and Michigan State. And they got Purdue next week. That's a game you feel like they need to win at home for sure. So keep on this path. They're on a good path right now for sure.
Motto can be no bad losses and maybe a couple where you can surprise some people in that top 4 of the Big Ten, just to keep that consistency. And also, of course, everyone wants the best possible spot come March Madness. You'll be in Iowa City covering that game along with our producer Brandon Tiedemann. Are you excited for the atmosphere? You've never been?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, anytime you get to see, I'm Caitlin Clark, great athlete. I mean, maybe Nebraska listeners don't want to hear all about that. They've seen it. But that's going to be a really great environment. Really looking forward to that game, seeing, what Nebraska can do. It's going to be fun.
And you never know. That's the beauty of basketball.
Absolutely.
You never know.
Yeah.
Well, follow at Drake Keeler for all the game updates for Nebraska versus Iowa. That's been the Nebraska Shootaround. Before we let you go, though, I want to remind you the Supernovas kick off their inaugural pro volleyball season tonight in Omaha. If you can't catch the game tonight, make sure you head out to CHI Health Center anytime throughout the season. They have plenty of home games to hit, and it is going to be phenomenal volleyball in Omaha. I got All-Americans, Olympians, everything in between, national champions. It's going to be a great atmosphere, and we hope to see you there. Hurrdat Sports will be there. Drake, again, once we get over basketball season, maybe we can see you at some Supernovas games.
Yeah, absolutely.
He'll be there. I know. I'm going to hold him to it. Thanks, guys, so much for joining us. This has been the Nebraska Shootaround.